Hunter Biden. Welcome to the Candace Owens Show.
It's wonderful to be
People
here.
are just going to be like, how on earth did this happen?
I know.
I did partake in just the inhumanity of just look at this guy at the worst moment of his life, like with prostitutes. He's on crack, he's on drugs, and we should make fun of him because it makes us feel good. Or it makes us feel like we're somehow beating the machine. And that it was, I think, a really warped viewpoint. And hearing you speak about it today, I'm just like, wow, it is so gross that I partook.
For you to say that to me, I truly mean it. But just from a purely selfish point of view, it means the world.
Is Hunter Biden cool? Okay, so something crazy is happening. Now MAGA is starting to like Hunter Biden. What in the world is going on? But I'm gonna tell you after Anna tells you all the details of the story, the person who was on to Hunter Biden being king before anyone else was.
What? Okay, so let's be very clear about something. The people who seem to be warming up to Hunter Biden are MAGA defectors. These are people who were hardcore supporters of Donald Trump. In most cases, they voted for Trump 3 times, but genuinely did believe that Trump was going to release the Epstein files, prevent us getting involved in foreign wars. And then Trump reneged on those promises, which led to a faction of the MAGA crowd defecting. And so obviously Candace Owens is representative of that. And so she had this really lengthy interview with Hunter Biden that I appreciated. They talked about his struggles with addiction. And I think those conversations are actually really important because a lot of Americans are struggling with addiction right now. And I thought it was enlightening and informative and all of that. However, I'm also noticing that he is back on X. He took a hiatus, but he's back.
And we don't mean the drug X, we mean the platform X.
Correct.
You gotta clarify with Hunter.
And apparently he's putting out bangers, as the kids like to say.
Okay.
But before we get to those bangers, something shocking also happened today where President Donald Trump seemed to say something positive about Hunter Biden and his potential political future. Hunter Biden could possibly mount a successful White House bid despite his shaky past, given some of the congressional candidates recently backed by Democrats, President Donald Trump said Thursday. Speaking to reporters, and this is Fox News that I'm reading from, speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Trump was asked by Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy about Biden or Hunter Biden. And apparently Trump said, you would think that the past has something to do with winning an election. And I would say his past is not the greatest. But then he goes on to say, hey, if the guy from Maine can do well, I guess Hunter could do well. What about you, homeboy? What about your past? What about your checkered past? What about the fact that before he got elected in 2016, we had the Access Hollywood tapes where he's talking about grabbing women in their private parts without asking.
Of course. Look, I'm starting to like Hunter for the reasons we're about to explain. But why are we talking about Hunter running for office?
I don't know.
This country
is a mess.
Is a mess because we think in terms of royalty. I remember after the Clintons, there was discussion that Chelsea Clinton would run for office. No, your kids don't have to run for office. Hunter Biden has no business in politics. He could do commentary, that's super interesting.
Paint, he loves painting.
That's true. You need a gas expert? He's your man?
No.
Okay, but seriously, guys, seriously, look, him doing this commentary is kind of fun. And you want to talk about politics, great. He doesn't have to run for office just because his last name is Biden.
I think he should just be, an S poster. You know what S stands for? I can't curse on the show.
Yeah, crap poster, right?
Yeah.
And Trump is so obvious. He's like, you should run Hunter Biden because he wants, he thinks we're dumb enough to run Hunter Biden and lose.
Okay, there is no we. We don't control who runs, and we're not. I'm not part of any establishment, right? Neither is Cenk. But can we just please have people who are qualified for the job, know what they're doing, and want to make the country better? But anyway, let me talk about the banger posts on X. Here's an example. In this one, he wrote, WTF timeline are we on? Someone called me the MAGA whisperer, and I'll gladly take the title. Left, right, D or R, Democrat or Republican, we all want the same things. We're being divided on purpose by the Epstein Elite Oligarch class, because as long as we're at each other's throats, they get fat and rich off of our misery. The second we figure out we agree on more than we disagree, they're done. Love your neighbor, be yourself, radical honesty, no F's given, no F's taken. Everything else is just noise, but still F Jake Brick Tamland Tapper on any timeline.
Yummy for my tummy.
Okay, look, I agree with everything written there, actually. But my mind wanders back to the last presidential race where behind the scenes you had Jill and Hunter Biden encouraging Joe Biden and his addled brain to remain in the race. And that was an issue that I don't think I'll ever forgive them for.
Yeah, that's a great point. But look, the reason why people like him now is, or beginning to, is because he sounds like a real person. And like you could tell from all of his past, not a corporate robot. And that's the same reason why people like Graham Plattner. Originally, people liked Donald Trump because they thought he wasn't part of the elites. He is. He was just too dumb to be able to effectively act, and it wound up being an ironic advantage for him. But Hunter, I believe him when he says no F's given. Believe me, given his life, I believe it.
And people have been loving his posts, so I'll give you a few examples. One person writes, in recent memory, I don't think anybody has had a more successful debut on X than Hunter Biden. Dude announced his arrival, clapped back like a pro, and he's already got the whole timeline obsessed. This isn't a comeback, it's a victory lap. Welcome to the party, Hunter Biden. You're here to stay.
Yeah, people are saying he's response king.
He is response king because he's responding in a self-deprecating way, and he has a sense of humor, which I think people love. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So one person writes to him, your paintings, who gives an F? I want to know how much coke you snorted before posting this tweet. And he wrote, man, if you're gonna be mean, at least get it right. I smoked crack. I would never have wasted coke on snorting it. I didn't even know you could smoke cocaine, but apparently you can.
Well, that's crack.
Oh yeah, that's
Coke
right.
turns into crack.
Yeah. Anyway.
We're such nerds.
I mean, look, no, I'm not a nerd. I've experimented, just not with Coke because it's such a waste. Like, oh, I'm gonna like damage my body for 15 minutes. No, if I'm gonna damage my body, it's gotta last a few hours. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I'm not
Keeping
experimenting.
it real.
I'm like older now. I'm not experimenting with anything. I'm fine. But let's go to some more posts because this one I really, really loved. Okay, no, I gotta give you one more. So one person says, excuse me, but aren't you decidedly part of the elite oligarch class? You're the son of a career senator, former VP, and president who received the most legally overboard pardon, which may not even be constitutional in the history of the United States. Sounds pretty effing elite to me. And he responds with that photo of himself, which came out of the Hunter Biden laptop story. Do I look like I'm part of the elite oligarch class? This was taken at a Super 8 motel off 195, by the way. It's pretty good.
Crack's a hell of a drug.
Okay. So here's the one that caught my attention, okay? This was something that finally called out the double standard when it comes to the corruption carried out by the Bidens versus the Trump family. He says, so let me get this straight. Jake Tapper is focused on attacking my mom. Jared and Ivanka are building a private island paradise on Albanian protected land. Don Jr. married the daughter of Epstein's banker, and a startup his fund backs just got a record $620 million Pentagon loan.
That's true.
Eric is taking an Israeli drone company public for $1.5 billion in the middle of a war that with Iran that nobody wanted. And I know, quote, but what about your paintings, Hunter, please?
No, so I agree with Jake Tapper on attacking his mom. So it's the only time I agree with Jake Tapper. But the rest of it, he's totally right. And we've talked about it on the show. Look, we've called out Hunter Biden 100 times. We did it when Biden was in office because we're honest and we're principled. And but he's an amateur compared to the Trumps,
yes.
Right? Like the $1.5 billion Israeli company that Eric's involved in, $620 million is now a huge controversy. Don Jr. invested into that company just 3 months before they got that enormous loan. Where's my loan from the US government?
What about all of the crypto schemes that the Trump family is getting rich off of as well?
Let alone the worst of the worst, Jared Kushner, $2 billion from the Saudis after some believe he gave top intelligence illegally, our intelligence to the Saudis, which might have even cost some people's lives. And then he gets $2 billion doing, he never did private equity before. He had no experience in that. It's just like Hunter being a Ukrainian gas expert. Kushner was not a financial expert at all. In fact, the only thing he ever did was real estate, and he had literally the worst investment in Manhattan history. He's the worst real estate developer and zero experience in finance. So, like, as we told you, they were like, "Oh, Hunter, you think you could do corruption? Hold my beer." Okay.
Yep, totally. And look, that's not to exonerate Hunter Biden or the Biden corruption as it pertains to serving on the board of Burisma. That was a problem, and we did call it out. We've never defended it. But I do think that it's wrong to operate under this weird double standard where the Trump family gets away with robbery. And this one thing involving Hunter Biden is what everyone focuses on endlessly. And by the way, there is great reporting in ProPublica about that Don Jr. Story that he had alluded to in that post. It's titled "The White House intervened to get a $620 million deal for a company tied to Donald Trump Jr. About 3 months before the Pentagon announced plans to lend money to Vulcan Elements, Trump Jr.'s venture capital firm took an undisclosed stake in the company. And then they go into the details about that.
So who knew ahead of time that Hunter Biden was secretly cool?
Who?
Hassan Piker. So we were at a Thanksgiving now over a decade ago, and he would not stop. It was actually one of the funniest Thanksgivings we've ever had. This was back in New Jersey, back in the day before Thanksgiving. And he wouldn't stop about, no, bro, that guy's real, man. Okay, and he was kidding, but only kind of. And so, but in all seriousness, what he was noticing is the same thing we were just talking about. Graham Plattner, Hunter Biden, where they're real human beings with a billion flaws, and that's much better than a corporate robot.
Yeah, because when people see those flaws, they think about themselves. Everyone has flaws, and so you want real people representing you. Yep. I get that.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.